Police have arrested about 400 people, some for felonies like riot, theft, even arson.
Those people should absolutely be criminally prosecuted.
But a lot of them aren't. And what's it like to be on both sides of the conversation about police bias?
There's this saying where if you're a black cop, you're not black.
He knows all too well. And for the first time in 7 years, PDX is knocked off the top of the list for best domestic airports. No! God, please, no! So which city could have possibly topped us? Wait, Indianapolis? Really? Here's the story.
Hey, hello. How are ya? I'm Dan Haggerty. Welcome to The Story. It's a Friday. How about it? We want to hear from you tonight and over the weekend. Talk to us all the time. Tell us what you want to see covered. I mean, honestly, we work for you. This is your show. This is your story. So email us, thestory@kgw.com. You can find me on Facebook. I post a lot of segments on my Facebook page that you'll only see there, so please check those out. Or reach out on Twitter with the hashtag HeyDan, like Jack did. He asked, "Hey Dan, where is Mayor Wheeler? Is he still living in Portland? What's he up to?" Thanks, Jack. And if you were wondering if we take your questions seriously, we do. Now, I think it's safe to say it's been a pretty tough week to be the mayor of the city of Portland. I mean, listen, being the mayor of Portland isn't exactly, described as the easiest job in the world to begin with. But this week, I don't know, maybe just a little bit next level. I mean, first, you have the crowds of protesters demanding big, meaningful action to reform police or even really defund them. Then you got the officers themselves pushing back a lot, even saying that they have no confidence in the city. Then the downtown business community says that they are taking this massive financial hit. And underneath it all, let's not forget the coronavirus pandemic, making everything even harder than it normally is. And it's not getting any easier, by the way. Today, the Oregon Health Authority laid out some scenarios. The worst case scenario saw a 10% jump in sick people. That would mean Oregon would see about 7,300 new cases per day and 76 hospitalizations per day. Those are Florida numbers, and we are nowhere near Florida's population. So under this cloud of coronavirus and protests and civil unrest, Mayor Wheeler finally did sit down with our Pat Doors, and Pat asked him about the criticism from downtown businesses and people in that community, saying that he and the rest of City Council just aren't doing a good enough job condemning violent protests. And we got a lengthy response from the mayor.
I don't know where that criticism comes. I have held numerous press conferences. I've stood with business leaders in front of the cameras. Last week, I stood with Black leaders and leaders from Northeast Portland, and I decried the violence. I decried the vandalism. I've supported the police in attempting to bring a quick and peaceful closure to the late night antics. From my perspective, look, it's not an either or. And I keep hearing from two camps. You get the Daryl Turners on one hand saying, that the police are not being aggressive enough, and that's somehow the mayor's fault. And then you get people on the other side, like the Speaker of the House, Tina Kotek, the governor, and others saying the mayor is letting the police run wild and they are being too aggressive in their tactics. It's not either or. Over the last 6 weeks, what we've seen is the police doing great things, de-escalating, making smart moves. And we've also seen the police make some mistakes and in some cases overreact. It's an evolving organization. I think we all need to take a step back. Let's review tactics as they unfold. We have an independent police review commission, and I've pledged that each and every one of the complaints that goes to IPR will be fully investigated. They will be transparent with the public about their findings. And we'll have as many people as we need engaged. And if we need to change tactics or if we need to change directions or strategies, we're committed to doing that. I'm 100% committed. It's not either or. It's about protecting civil rights, and it's also about protecting the rights of people in the community who do not want to be subjected to violence or vandalism. Both of those things can be true, and they are.
Now, here's an article that's both worth your time and incredibly relevant to this conversation. So Portland's police chief yesterday claimed downtown businesses have lost $23 million because of protests and riots in recent weeks. That number seemed a little inflated to many reporters in town, including Everton Bailey Jr. at the Oregonian. So where'd that number come from? Well, the Portland Business Alliance announced late last month downtown businesses lost $18 million in sales during the weeks-long protests downtown, plus damages. Portland's police chief and many local leaders took that number and ran with it in recent days. After some investigative reporting, Everton learned those $18 million in lost sales only came from the upscale mall downtown, Pioneer Place. And not only that, but the massive loss in revenue was because the mall remained closed under coronavirus restrictions. Basically, protests are not to blame for this $18 million loss. The pandemic played a pretty big role. Now, you can check out Everton's article right now. It's on OregonLive.com. Help support our great local journalists. And that tonight brings us to our big story. Now, no matter how big those numbers are or aren't, the business community still is not happy with all of the damage they're seeing downtown. But our investigative reporter, Kyle Aboshi, found some of those protesters who were arrested for things like riot and arson have had their charges dropped. And we're not just talking about a couple of people, like dozens of them.
Dozens of protesters arrested in downtown Portland had their criminal charges dropped and cases closed. Analysis of police and court records by KGW indicates the Multnomah County DA's office has dismissed charges against at least 59 of the roughly 400 protesters arrested since mass demonstrations started in Portland in late May. Most of the dropped charges included misdemeanor offenses, but 9 involved more serious felony charges, including riot, arson, and theft. In one case, Portland police arrested a 25-year-old protester for allegedly setting fire to a Chase Bank in downtown Portland on May 30th. A grand jury heard evidence in the case and declined to return an indictment. All charges were dropped. It's not clear why other cases were closed. Charges can be filed later, but the incoming Multnomah County DA, Mike Schmidt, has said he would consider dropping charges against nonviolent demonstrators once he takes office August 1st.
My approach is really going to be thoughtful and review the cases and really kind of exactly what I talked about throughout the campaign. Think about what prosecutions are necessary for public safety.
What that does is it makes arrests meaningless.
Former Clatsop County prosecutor Josh Markey believes it would be unfair to give demonstrators who violate the law a free pass.
It is incomprehensible to me that you could have downtown Portland destroyed the way it has, tens of millions of dollars of damage, and say, well, there's no accountability for that.
Prosecuting protest cases are not always a slam dunk, explained criminal defense attorney Victoria Safarian.
And a lot of times, because of the Portland community being so liberal, we see people acquitted of low-level charges.
The defense lawyer explained police officers have broad discretion whether to arrest someone during a protest. For example, an officer could charge someone with misdemeanor disorderly conduct for blocking traffic, but that decision doesn't always hold up in court when scrutinized by a jury.
Or was it illegal? Were they intentionally obstructing traffic? Or were they actually intentionally screaming their First Amendment rights, right? Whatever they're saying, Black Lives Matter, and they were not intentionally obstructing traffic when they were doing that.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler believes prosecutors have a duty to go after the most serious crimes like arson.
Those people should absolutely be criminally prosecuted. You can't engage in a crime like that and then have no accountability whatsoever.
Adding to the challenge, the court system is already facing a huge backlog due to COVID-19 restrictions and damage to the Justice Center, leaving prosecutors to decide which cases are a priority and which cases, if any, should be dropped. Kyle Aboshi, KGW News.
Now, you heard from Mike Schmidt there in Kyle's piece. He's about to be Multnomah County's new DA in 21 days. And this week, he unveiled a very long and diverse list of people on his transition team. He ran on community involvement, and I guess here it is. These people will help him craft his agenda, which we expect to be pretty progressive and reform-oriented. The list includes Eddie Morales, who's on Gresham City Council and founded East County Rising, Kaya Sand, who is the executive director of Street Roots, Aaron Greenwald, with the board president, of the Oregon Crime Victims Law Center, and Antoinette Edwards, who used to be the director of Portland's Office of Youth Violence Prevention, and a bunch of other names also well known in the justice, politics, business, and activist circles. Now, I had a chance to talk to Schmidt this week, for the first time really since he learned that his predecessor, Rod Hill, would be resigning and handing over those reins a lot earlier than he expected.
First, if you could just briefly explain how you were feeling and how you feel now, given that the timeline for your start date moved up dramatically and pretty unexpectedly.
Yeah, absolutely. it's kind of mixed emotions, a little bit of a roller coaster. I thought I was going to have this 6-month time period to really thoughtfully, assemble my policies and my team, and that got moved up. So it's intimidating and everything else. But at the same time, I think it's the right time. We're in a moment where a lot of the things that I ran on are being discussed throughout the community in terms of criminal justice reform and racial, just decreasing racial disparity in our criminal justice system. So I'm also excited to get in there and get started.
So some of these ideas that you ran on are now coming to fruition, and you have a panel that you've put together. Can you explain a bit behind the thought process that you took going into who would be on your team?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, really throughout the entire election, the campaign series or the season, it became really clear to me that one of the things I was hearing was the community just has not felt like they've had a voice in the district attorney's office for a long time. And so I wanted to make sure that I center their experiences and their voices in what my policies are going to be. It doesn't have to be all on me to fix everything. I should bring in the community as much as possible. So with that in mind, I really thought about, how can I in Multnomah County reach out to different groups to represent as many different stakeholders as I could. And really, we put together a fantastic group of community leaders who wear multiple hats, have multiple backgrounds and connections, deep roots in this city, who've been working on these issues for a long time. And so that's really what we looked at. We looked at, people with diverse personal history, diverse professional history, and tried to put together a list that we thought really represented everybody.
Do you have anybody on the panel who will challenge the thinking that already exists kind of within you and some of the people closest to you?
Yeah, I think some of the folks on there, we have a retired Portland police officer, Kevin Modica, so he really has that history and experience. Not necessarily that he's going to disagree with me on all kinds of things, but he brings that kind of more law enforcement experience. We have Erin Greenewald, who is a longtime prosecutor of domestic violence, so she's got the prosecutorial history. So we've definitely got some folks who are more the systems-based people that worked and dedicated their careers into those systems. And so I wanted to have that mix of people so that it's not just, some of the folks who are thinking a lot of the ways like I am in terms of reform, but also people that have been in the system for a long time that are going to, hopefully give great feedback and dialogue and challenge some of the ideas so we get the best policies possible.
Okay, we had a lot more to talk about. You can tell it was kind of a long interview, including whether his day one priorities have changed now that day one is about 5 months earlier than he anticipated. So we're going to put that whole conversation for you on the KGW YouTube channel so you can check it out whenever you have some time. Hop on there and give it a look. Leave a comment. Now look, Portland, I hope you're sitting down because for the first time after like 7 years, PDX has not been named Travel and Leisure's #1 domestic airport. I know. I'm shocked. I'm shocked too. 7 years straight, top spot, and now this? Travel, leisure. What's the deal, man? Is it because we replaced our iconic carpet? Are you bored by the fact that the Hollywood Theater literally operates a working movie theater in the terminal? Maybe it's because we don't have any boring chain restaurants and instead choose to highlight the city's local cuisine. Are you a big Chili's fan, Travel and Leisure? I mean, have you tried to go through security at another airport? It's like the worst. It takes forever. Here, our people have it down. So you might be wondering, who took the top spot this year? Who could possibly dethrone PDX? Indianapolis. I know. Indy. No, look, because we are big sports, or good sports here on the story, I figured I'd congratulate the new top dogs in the airport game by taping a little tourism ad for Indianapolis.
Let's go down to the floor.
Or imagine being able to be magically whisked away to Indianapolis. Hi, I'm in Indianapolis.
I guess kids get this. Oh, they love it.
Hi, kid. Party on, PDX and Indy. But PDX, you're still #1 in our hearts. Now look, when the story continues, what it's like to be a police officer who is also a black man.
Me putting this uniform on does not erase that history that I've had.
Like everybody's experience, it's unique and complicated. Plus,
We are known as a destination street.
Come to Alberta Street for public art. Stay to see the way the neighborhood is helping businesses owned by people of color.
All right, let's answer some Hey Dan questions. So Randy wants to know, hey Dan, I heard that COVID cases could be so high due to people being tested more than once or multiple times and not representing one case for every number. I was wondering if that was true. We've gotten that question so many times. I took it directly to Jonathan Modi with the Oregon Health Authority. He said this.
Sometimes people can have multiple samples taken, but even if all those samples come back positive, the person is only counted as one positive case.
Even with multiple tests a few days or even a few weeks apart, that result is only counted once. However, if you get COVID and you recover, you're tested again 90 days later and you're positive again, that is then counted as a new case. Please keep sending us your questions using the hashtag HeyDan.
Hey, welcome back to The Story. Is it just me, or did this week take forever? Let's use some of this Friday energy and channel it into a conversation. Use the hashtag HeyDan. You can email us at thestory@kgw.com. We want to chat. We want to answer your questions. Yes, we have lives. You're looking at it. Now, with that in mind, let's go to this question I got on Twitter from Ken. Hey, Dan, what's the latest on the Oregon State police officers who refused to wear masks at a coffee shop in Corvallis? Were they punished? If not, this just reinforces the fact that cops consider themselves above the law and not accountable for their actions. Little generalization at the end there. But all right, you probably remember this video obtained by the Oregonian from last week. A group of Oregon State troopers walked into a coffee shop with no masks on. The Oregonian says the assistant manager asked one of them to put a mask on and he refused, and then apparently said F Kate Brown, and I'm pretty sure he didn't use the abbreviation. We checked with OSP and there really is not a ton to update for you right now. One of the troopers is still on leave, we know that, and they're continuing to investigate what happened. The day after that video came out, the governor invited 3 of the troopers to meet with her, and she says, quote, that they took responsibility and expressed real regret for their actions. Now, as we continue to have tough conversations about racial justice and bias, it's important to remember that everybody is coming to the table with their own set of experiences and their own set of beliefs. And we heard a very complicated perspective this week. Jakari Jackson is an officer on the Portland Police Bureau's Rapid Response Team, which is basically crowd control. He's also, as you can see from the video, a black man, and he thinks white protesters can learn a thing or two from him.
Folks that really do want change, like the rest of us that have been impacted by racism, and then I got to see those people get faded out by people that have no idea what racism is all about. They don't even know that the tactics that they are using are the same tactics that were used against my people. Coming from someone who graduated from PSU with a history degree, it's actually frightening. A lot of times someone of color, black, Hispanic, Asian, come up to the fence and directly want to talk to me. Hey, what do you think about George Floyd? What do you think about what happened about this? I go up to the fence, someone white comes up, F the police, don't talk to him. And you have white people screaming at black officers. You have the biggest nose I've ever seen. Having people tell you, what to do with your life, that you need to quit your job, that you need to, you're hurting your community, but they're not even part of the community. You as a privileged white person telling someone of color what to do with their life. There are bad cops out there in the world. We don't associate with those people. They make us all look bad. I've been called on calls the N-word, I don't know, I can't even count. There's this saying where if you're a black cop, you're not black. I take this uniform off and I'm suspicious. I look like someone that these people would then call the police on. Me putting this uniform on does not erase that history that I've had.
So Jackson's been with the Portland Police for 9.5 years. He spoke yesterday at a news conference alongside Portland's new police chief. You can hear more from him on the KGW YouTube page if you'd like. And while you're there, I hope you subscribe and check out a lot more of what we have to offer. All right, almost time to finish the story, but first we want to read some questions and comments when we come back. So send them in to us using that same hashtag, HeyDan, and you can email us at thestory@kgw.com. Also, how does this sound?
So we've got 30 dinosaurs coming to Alberta Street for the whole summer.
Need I say more? I don't think so. We're going to be right back. I know these have been really busy weeks. You know, every single week has its own kind of spike of important news and things that affect so many different people. I do want to read just one comment tonight. A little self-serving here, but this one's from Debbie. She said, "Hey Dan, just wanted to say we really enjoy watching the show. Keep up the great job. I cannot tell you how much fun it is to do this and how challenging it is to do this and how the burden that we feel to do a good job here is very intense, but we get such great feedback from all of you that we do feel positive about it, that we feel like we're doing a good job. But it really all goes back to you, everybody in this community who tells us what they think of this program, what we should be covering, and what stories you want to see be told. So please keep using that hashtag #HeyDan, and we'll keep telling the stories best way we know how. In the meantime, we want to finish this week with a feel-good story from our photojournalist Ken McCormick, who checked out the summer of Alberta and wanted to share a bit of it with you too. So stay safe, have a great weekend. We'll see you back here next week.
We are known as a destination street. We are part of the National Main Street Network, and we're just known for a street that you can walk with your family, go on a date with, or whatever you want to do. I'm Lizzie Caston. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Alberta Main Street. We are the nonprofit that helps support equity, issues of displacement in the African American community, supports the small businesses on the street, and arts and culture. We have Last Thursdays on the Street, which are big art walks that are very attended. We can't do that this year because of COVID. So instead, we've launched Summer of Alberta, which is a whole season of arts and activities and music and shopping and dining for everyone to enjoy.
It's brought people in the door, kind of the gateway.
We are an organization that has a strong focus on equity and racial diversity, especially for the Black community. This is a historic African American neighborhood. So that is a big part of what we do, is social justice.
My name is Cameron Witten. I am a co-founder of the Black Resilience Fund. We are an emergency fund that fosters healing and resilience here in Portland, supporting our Black neighbors.
So the Black Resilience Fund has partnered with the Shush Fund to provide assistance to our brothers and sisters at the Warm Springs Reservation.
And it is bringing more awareness and bringing more eyes to the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs issues that are happening right now.
Success would be showing people that Alberta Street is thriving and alive, that we are a diverse community, that we are a healthy community, and that people enjoy themselves here and that are safe and healthy. So we've got 30 dinosaurs coming to Alberta Street for the whole summer. So come on down and visit. That's all we want people to know. This is a vibrant, alive, and positive community space. We welcome everyone. All are welcome on Alberta Street.